This video has spoilers for Black Widow. Do not watch if you have not seen the movie. Alright, so if you follow me on Twitter, then you probably know that I was very excited for Black Widow. I even made a video talking about why I was very excited for it. So how was it? Well, before I say, I want to get into my reasons as to why I said I was excited for the film and see how those reasons hold up after watching it. My first reason was about how the film was a consequence of previous films. And this definitely holds up. The fact that she is on the run makes her unable to contact other Avengers and brings her to Budapest. And since she's on the run, she has to deal with the Red Room on her own. And it makes perfect sense in my opinion. My second reason was Natasha Romanoff herself. I basically said in my original video that she was super underdeveloped, and while looking back this is 100% false, I even thought that was false at the time, I don't know why I said that. I thought that she was pretty great here. I loved the way that her past would constantly haunt her, and it really helped develop her character, and seeing her backstory showed us how sad her past is. It also helps show her past now with Yelena in the picture. Although I really wish we had more flashbacks with her as an assassin to highlight how bad her mistakes were. We only had that one flashback, but I wish we could have seen more to highlight her assassin days. Another thing was the action scenes, and yeah, I really enjoyed most of them. I really liked the fight scene with Natasha against Yelena and the chase immediately after that. They both have creative choreography and some fun humor that I like as well. Also, the Taskmaster vs Red Guardian fight was pretty cool, although it was really short. It was a bit underwhelming since Red Guardian kept flexing that he fought Captain America even though he didn't actually. So now he's fighting someone who uses Captain America's style, but there's no moment regarding that. It could have been a pretty cool moment for him, but it wasn't really. It also just ended in a bitch lame way with Taskmaster just getting fucking locked in a cell. I guess some stuff in the final act was pretty cool though. My favorite action scene was definitely the highway fight scene. It's easily Taskmaster's best fight scene and she's most intimidating there. The lighting, music, and cinematography all made it really good. But I thought the prison break fight scene was really lame. We barely got to see Black Widow fight, and the stuff with the Red Guardian was just lame. Also, the final battle wasn't very good. There's a really weird scene where she fights all the widows, and it was kinda bad. The widows literally take their turn at fighting Natasha, and sometimes 2 come at a time, sometimes 3, but point is none of them all fight at the same time. They literally just wait their turn. I will say, I really did like the scene after where they beat Natasha to hell. It was brutal, it had good music, and I love all the red lines that are everywhere. The fight scene also had a pretty cool climactic ending to it. Although I gotta say, the special effects when the characters were falling from the Red Room sometimes looked hilariously bad. Like, look at this shit, it looks terrible. So I liked the majority of the action scenes, but some of them were straight dog ass. My next point in that video was Taskmaster. And I thought Taskmaster was cool in a couple scenes. The first scene was obviously the highway fight scene, and the other one was this kind of cool scene. Now the idea of Taskmaster being a literal form of Natasha's past mistakes is pretty great, but the execution is so bad. My first issue is that Taskmaster doesn't talk. This prevents her from having anything meaningful with Natasha. Also the fact that Taskmaster is barely even developed, that's because we have this douchebag as the main villain. Taskmaster barely does anything and it fucking sucks. Also, Taskmaster doesn't have the photographic memory, which is a shame. At least not much of one. I get it's an adaptation, but I just prefer the photographic memory. I wouldn't mind so much if he copied a lot of the Avengers, however, the ones that we did see him copy were already in the trailer. In the movie, he copies Captain America, Black Widow, Black Panther, Spider-Man, and Hawkeye. Which is a shame since we literally see all of them in the trailer. How are you gonna show what Taskmaster is most known for and then show all the times she uses it in the trailer? That's just insulting if you ask me. I thought the idea of how Taskmaster got defeated being that Nat used the mind cure thing instead of actually beating him would have showed how much he developed as a person. I don't mind that idea, but the execution is very bad in my opinion. What would have made it better in my opinion is if we got to see a shot of Taskmaster watching footage of Nat when she was an assassin. And since Nat was much more of a killer, she would have been more brutal. So Taskmaster uses very brutal moves against Natasha, but Natasha is eventually able to beat her by using the mind cure thing. This is much better in my opinion because we get what we got in the movie, but we'd also see her literally beating her old past assassin life. And since she would beat Taskmaster not through combat but by using the mind cure thing, we would get what we got in the film as well with her becoming a better person. I get it's kinda corny and basic, but I think it works. Anyways, yeah, Taskmaster kinda fucking sucks. Which I'm not surprised about, because so far every single new villain in Phase 4 has been kinda ass. My final point was the humor, and yeah, I guess I liked it. Some jokes said it for me, some didn't. I thought most of the great humor came from Florence Pugh as Yelena, who plays the annoying little sister character. In my opinion, she had a lot of great humor bouncing off of Natasha. Some humor didn't really work for me, like the scene while the characters were eating. It felt kinda cringy for me. Not all the humor was like this, but a good 25% was cringy if you ask me. So I guess most of the humor worked for me, about 75%, but yeah. Humor wasn't a very important part of the movie if you ask me. So yeah, the film did definitely meet some of my expectations, but disappointed in some others too. Now I'll get into stuff that I liked and disliked that wasn't related to my original video. First off, I really like most of Nat's family. I don't really care for Yelena, but I love Yelena and Alexei. These two were easily the best part of the movie if you ask me, and I love all the scenes between them. I love how Yelena bounces off of Natasha and how she plays the annoying little sister character. She's also kind of the emotional core of the film, and Florence Pugh does such a fantastic job playing her. I also really like Red Guardian and how the idea of that he's an old hero who's now past his prime. He was really funny and had some great moments with Yelena. I also really like the end credit scene. I am really excited for Hawkeye, and this made me more excited. Yelena now thinks that Natasha died because of Clint, so now she wants revenge, which brings the idea that she'll be the villain in the Hawkeye show. We also see the woman who recruited John Walker to become U.S. agent at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This brings the idea to me that she's trying to form the Thunderbolts, which could be really cool. The score is also very good. The electronic score is so good, and I love the way it's used. I love the way it's used to show how the Red Room is, and it's definitely one of the better soundtracks in the MCU. There's also a bunch of small stuff that I like the explanation about what happens to the Widow's reproductive organs. The way that they explain it is, something. Stuff like this that shows what happens to people in the Red Room that I like. As for criticisms, I noticed some really big plot armor. For example, there is a scene where Nat falls off a building and is hitting stuff on the way down. Then she lands with a fucking superhero landing and gets up just fine. What the fuck? No, that would not happen. I can buy that maybe Nat wouldn't be totally hurt by this, considering the fact that she's kind of trained to take a lot of pain because she was in the Red Room. But she only lived for like 5 seconds before she goes back to running to the motorcycle. I already said why Taskmaster is a terrible villain, but man, the main villain is even worse. The guy has basically no motivation, and he's so pathetic as well. The acting for Draco is so bad, it's not even funny. I don't know if he's as bad as Hayward, but he's definitely worse than Taskmaster. Another thing is the movie is very poorly paced. The movie goes by very, very fast, and everything feels underdeveloped, which is weird because the movie has a pretty decent runtime. If you ask me, it's why Natasha's and Yelena's character arcs feel kind of rushed and why Taskmaster is pretty bad. Now when I say rushed, I don't mean rushed production, but I mean rushed as in it's trying to get itself to the post-credit scene as fast as possible. Now it's not like it's all bad as it is able to get in some emotional scenes with character development, but sometimes it is unable to do that. Another problem is it felt like Black Widow was sidelined in her own movie. It felt like she was overshadowed by Yelena, which is a shame because this is probably going to be the last time we ever see Natasha, and she's overshadowed by her sister. She's overshadowed by Yelena just to become the new Black Widow, which is honestly a shame. Now, if they could have had it split evenly, then I would be perfectly fine with it, but it feels like they're not able to do it evenly enough. It's just kind of disappointing from that aspect, if you ask me. My final issue with the movie is, why did they make a movie about this story? Now, this isn't a big issue because I do like the story they tell in the movie, however, they constantly reference Budapest. The way they describe it is it seems like it's this big, awesome, epic story that's really important in Natasha's life. And they go into so much detail about it that I wonder, why didn't they just make a movie about that? But that's really all I have to say about the movie. So yeah, the film has a lot of good in it, but a fair amount of bad as well. But I definitely liked the movie and I did enjoy it. But I was also kind of disappointed as I was very excited for this movie. It's kind of a shame because I don't think we'll be seeing Natasha anymore. Now, I'd recommend this movie if you're a big MCU fan or a Black Widow fan. Also, shoot into that action spy shit. And as for my score, I think I'd go with a solid 7 out of 10.